This is not my house, but I've managed to live in it for the last 2 months completely rent-free. How is that even possible? Well, over the last 2 years, I've mostly been traveling and living in developing countries. And so my biggest fear of coming back to a country like Australia or Canada, wherever it may be, is the cost of living. It's expensive to live here. But traveling is for rich people, isn't it super expensive? No, my friend. Living in a developed country is for rich people. And I'm not rich. I'm definitely not rich enough to live in a house like this. 2024 has been a stressful year financially for a lot of people. And so that's why I want to share with you guys how I currently and will continue to pay no rent in Australia. What was that mattress ad?
Oh, you told me?
It was really big in New Zealand. Anyways, that part just felt kind of like a mattress advertisement.
Hi, I'm Gary, at the one and only Gary's Mattress.
I got a new gimbal, I wanted to use it, and Felicia here did that lovely shot for me. Now, some of you probably already guessed off the bat that this is a video about house/pet sitting. But as somebody who up until a year ago didn't actually even know this was an option, I'm going to assume the majority of you guys are in the same boat. So here's how it works in the plainest terms possible. You look after someone's house and or pet, and in exchange, you get to live in said house and use the utilities of said house. So see, for someone like me who's just moved to a new country and is trying to find work, I don't really want to have to buy the gazillion things that we all want to enjoy our life, for example. A fridge, of course. What's in here? And if you're lucky, the biggest one, a car. I don't know how common this is with house sits, to be honest. We've somehow managed to find our first 4 months of house sits all allowing us to use a car, so don't hold that one against me. How good is that though? Such a monster expense that we don't need to handle right away. Okay. Hold up though. There must be a catch. Well, yeah. Duh, dude, there's always a catch. That's why I'm gonna break down the positives and the negatives of house sitting for you. I'll start with the negatives because, I don't know, I feel like it's good to get those out of the way first. So number one on the list of negatives, you gotta be moving around all the time. This is obviously gonna drastically depend on the country you decide to try and house sit in. If you're in Australia, New Zealand, or most of Europe, people actually get pretty decent holidays, so it's not uncommon to find 1 to 3 month long house sits. Now, if you're in North America, well, it's probably a lot more common to find anywhere from 2 weeks to a month. I've never house sat there, but that's at least what I've read and heard. But regardless of where you decide to house sit, you're gonna have to move a lot. And that's definitely a downside for some people, most people. Number two, you can't really keep too much stuff. I really don't know where I want to film this. I can't make up my mind. I'm just setting the camera up all over the house. I think this looks kind of good though. Some people will probably think, oh, that's a good thing, you know, the less shit you have, the better. But the difficult part is when you live in a place that has more than one season or climate. As someone who's lived out of a backpack for the past few years, having to carry winter clothes and summer clothes and fall clothes becomes really difficult really quickly. Number three is that it's gonna be difficult to maintain a routine. Maybe you like going to the gym at 7:30 in the morning, but now this new dog you look after needs to be walked at 8 a.m. They're not big changes all the time, but these little things that just can make it tougher to stick to a schedule that you're used to. Little bonus negative here for you is the wonderful anxiety of not really knowing where you're gonna stay next. Now, we have the luxury of Melbourne, Australia being full of house sits, but if you're in another part of the world, maybe you're only finding house sits that are for a week or two at a time, and they're really spread out, or there's nowhere near as many as you thought there were gonna be. That would be a problem. One of the biggest trade-offs is that even though you've obviously got a lovely place that you can stay in for completely free, you've got to be almost constantly trying to secure yourself a place to stay next. And depending on how long you can stay in each place, it can definitely get a little stressful. Okay, now that we've got all that shitty stuff out of the way, let's talk about what makes this lifestyle awesome. Awesome. We might as well kick number one off with the most glaringly obvious. You get to live for free. Now, I want to break this down for you guys in some real numbers. As a couple living in Melbourne, Australia, and a lot of other cities in the developed world, not just here, you could be looking at spending anywhere from like $400 to $1,000 a week in rent. So just for argument's sake, let's take the smallest number. $400 a week in rent, that's $3,200 over the course of 2 months. Add about another $200 a month for bills, $3,600 divided by 2, $1,800 per person we've saved so far for doing nothing. Once again, the lowest amount. It's realistically probably more around the $3,000 mark for each of us. That's basically your entire next holiday to Bali or Cancun or Europe, wherever it may be, in like 2 or 3 months, sorted. Number two, you're not tied down by anything. Maybe you're like us and you've just moved to a new place, you don't actually have any work yet, you're in that transitional phase, or maybe you just want to try out a new city for 6 months, see if you actually even like it. Fact is that if you sign yourself onto a lease, you're locked down in a place you might hate, or if you stay in hotels or Airbnbs the entire time, then good luck to you. That's gonna burn a hole in the wallet. House sitting is quite possibly the best option when it comes to reducing the financial burden on yourself, whether you're in a transitional phase like myself or you're not, but you just want to reduce your financial burden. Number three, you get to experience different areas of a place, a city, a country, whatever it may be. Cities are big, countries are even bigger, and house sitting gives you a chance to explore a bunch of areas that you might never have actually gone. Maybe you want to buy a house in that city someday, or you want to just rent. Then this gives you the opportunity to explore loads of different areas and get a feel for the neighborhood, the people, the locals, the shops. And it doesn't even just have to be in one city or country. We know people who house sit all over the world. The fact is when you're on a holiday, it's hard to truly get an idea of what it's like to live in that place. When you're staying in a house in a suburb with actual locals, no matter what country, it's always going to give you a really good idea of whether or not this is actually a place you'd want to live. Right, now I gave you a bonus negative, so of course I've got to give you a bonus positive. And arguably this is probably the most important one. The pets. Hey Lou, the pets. Look at this old girl. Okay. She's not the biggest fan of being picked up. I obviously love animals. Dogs, cats, pigs, birds, bunnies, whatever it might be. And house sitting, of course, gives you an amazing opportunity to hang out, care for, and give snuggles to amazing, beautiful pets. Also, if you're like me and you're not quite ready for your own pet yet, you want to figure out what breed of dog or cat you might want, very good way to do so without spending a bunch of money. So look, if your goal at the moment is to save money no matter what continent you're on, I honestly can't think of a better way than to look after some furry friends. Also, just Google house sitting in whatever country you're in and something will come up, I promise you. At least I know I'm not planning on paying rent anytime soon. Peace.